moon's phases in women's menstrual cycle. The idea that a woman's menstrual cycle is connected to the phases of the moon has been around for centuries. In fact, there's evidence to suggest that this connection may have some scientific basis. The average length of a woman's menstrual cycle is 28 days. This is the same amount of time it takes for the moon to go through its full cycle of phases. If the moon is truly plasma, then this makes absolute sense, and if it's a piece of rock, this would never take place. The moon circulates over our realm, being a plasma body acts as the plasma in a woman's bloodstream. The blood plasma also carries all parts of the blood through your circulatory system. The main role that plasma plays on science and the biological body of humanity is it takes nutrients, hormones, and proteins to the parts of the body that need it. The cells also put their waste products into plasma. The plasma then helps to remove this waste from the body. The same applies to the pollution in our realm. Cold plasma pyrolysis makes it possible to convert waste products into hydrogen, methane, and ethylene. Such as a woman's plasma in her blood convert hormones into estrogen and other pheromone products. The menstrual cycle has 4 phases: menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal phase. The moon also has 4 main phases. It has a new moon, first quarter moon, full moon, third quarter moon. Just like during your period, the moon itself dots itself and becomes a black oblique body, disappearing into the night sky for a little less than 7.4 days on average. When investigating on a rocky moon assumption, the correlation isn't as strong nor synchronic as to instead assume a plasma body. You see, both the moon and the menstrual cycle take about 28 days and are perfectly aligned with each other. The moon circulates over our realm and as a plasma gas body, thus acts just as a plasma in a woman's veins. The moon's dipole lock with the electric sun carries the plasma moon around all 4 corners of our realm. Similarly, the women's bloodstream carries the plasma, which also carries all parts of the blood plasma through the women's circulatory system. Biologically, the main role that plasma plays on the human body is that it takes nutrients, hormones, and proteins to the parts of the body that need it. The cells in the body also put their waste products in the plasma. The plasma then helps to remove this waste from the body. The same applies to the pollution and purification of things in our enclosure. Cold plasma pyrolysis makes it possible to convert waste products like hydrogen, methane, and ethanol, just as the plasma in our blood does. The plasma in our blood convert hormones into estrogen and pheromone products. Cold plasma has 4 main phases. They are the ionization phase, the propagation phase, the interaction phase, and the termination phase. The menstrual cycle has 4 main phases as well: menstruation, follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal phase. The moon also has 4 main phases: the new moon, half moon, full moon, and another half moon. And just like placing a dot on a period over the moon on a new moon phase, the symbology represented here shows how direct correlation between the starting of each of the cycles. The new moon. The moon's body becomes a black oblique body, disappearing to the night sky for a little less than 7.4 days on average. Simultaneously, the moon begins its ionization phase. In this phase, energy is added to a gas to create plasma. The gas becomes ionized, meaning that some of the atoms lose or gain electrons, creating positively and negatively charged particles. With women, the menstruation phase, the lining of the uterus is shed through the vagina. All these things are the body's preparation for pregnancy. The menstrual cycle usually lasts a series of 5 to 7 days. The moon begins its half moon phase. This is called the propagation phase. Within the cold plasma, the plasma propagates through the gas, creating a plasma cloud. The cloud can be used to treat surfaces of materials and purification processes.
The plasma propagates through the gas, creating a plasma cloud. The cloud can be used to treat surfaces of materials and purification processes simultaneously. The woman's body starts the follicular phase. In a follicular phase, the brain's pituitary gland releases a hormone stimulating the folate, which is holding an immature egg. During this time, the moon's phases are taking on the aspects of the preparatory stage, where the moon's free radicals break down during a waxing portion of the moon cycle. A full moon is halfway of the lunar cycle, and occurs about 13 to 15 days before the start of the next period. This is when the woman's body is, and its ovulation phase on day 16. Both the full moon only lasts for around 12 to 24 hours, so is the woman's ovulation time, and the egg is released from the ovaries into the fallopian tube, and progesterone levels are going through fluctuations as estrogen levels are rising. The plasma moon is in its interaction phase, or the particles of the plasma can begin to break down organic matter, kill bacteria, and modify the surface properties of materials. Just like the woman's body has an increased hormone level, the full moon is often associated with increased energy and heightened emotion. Some believe that the full moon can affect human behavior, i.e., lunatics or lunacy. And finally, the woman's body then begins its last phase, the luteal phase, which lasts 14 days. So while the moon on day 22 begins to slow decrease of plasma matter upon his chemical sphere, in the luteal phase testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen thickens the uterine lining, and progesterone helps the uterine lining stay in place. As the plasma moon takes on a half-moon shape, and for plasma ends its cycle with the terminator phase. Just like the woman's body released chemicals, plasma in the terminator phase, the plasma is terminated by removing the energy source, and then returns to its natural state, and the plasma cloud disappears around day 28, thus completing a lunar month perfectly in collaboration with the moon. The moon has been a symbol of feminine affinity and fertility in women throughout history, and in across cultures. This outline has perfectly described the moon and initial cycle regularly corresponding to the moon.